No, no. Oh, we are.
Are you on mute? Can you
No,
hear me?
no, I'm not muted.
All right.
I
I
was
think you
waiting
just
for
were.
Rai to do the introduction.
Okay, you do the intro. Say, what are you saying?
Sup. Sup.
You hear him? He said,
Sup,
"What's up?"
right? Yeah.
He said,
Sup,
"What's up?"
sup, man. Sup,
Yeah. He said, "What's
sup.
up?"
This is the OK
What's
Show.
up? Alrighty. My
Okay, we're
co-host.
doing this
Emma, you
Sup. Yes.
with
yeah.
Rai
What?
tonight as the main host.
Special
All
guest.
right, we'll wait for you. All right, come on,
Hi.
Rai.
Hi guys.
Tell us what
All
to
right.
talk about.
Well,
I.
okay, what's the topic?
We're talking about which is
Sup.
harder, to be a kid or to be an adult.
Oh, perfect.
I know, right?
Did you just make
You
that
asked
one up
him.
now or
No, I posted it. Did you check?
no, I didn't. I just, dude,
Oh my
I literally just
God.
like went on Facebook now just to log in, just to be part of the show. Don't touch. All right.
No, I posted it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
think
harder, to be an adult or to be a kid? That's the topic for
we'll
tonight.
take a wild guess.
I know, right?
I mean, I guess it's I guess it's both. I mean, we can talk about that. I mean, CJ's on board. CJ's kind of like in the middle. He's caught in the middle. He's like, it's probably harder to be a mom.
Oh, hey, there's Bags. Hello. It
Yeah,
is hard to be a mom.
when she's
Panganak pa more.
busy.
I
Panganak
know,
pa more.
right?
When she's busy, I have to kind of, of course, I have to help out and everything. So that's our job. We try to make their jobs easier. So, anyways, um, the wifey's busy with her baking. She's got a couple of cake orders and the kuya is okay. The kuya is like kind of like like Snow now. You can leave her alone. She can watch her show and she's good, or leave her with the iPad. But Jago's like, thank you, babe. Jago's like all over the place. I mean, I was out since this morning. I I attended the internment, the burial of the late great Attorney Raul Tolentino Sr., the
Right,
father
right.
of
Yes.
Judge
Yes, that
Ronald.
was today.
So yeah, I was at Forest Lake earlier this morning, and then it's just that's why I'm still wearing the same clothes I was wearing since 9 a.m. Because I went to SM, ran some errands, bought some stuff for the wifey's
Right.
no,
So
no,
you
for
went to the
for yeah.
you went to the internment first, then
Yeah,
you went to SM, right? All right. Okay.
yeah. I went to like a hardware first, and then I went to
All right.
get
Okay.
like flowers for a cake
Superstition,
or
yeah.
something.
Something to do with
Yeah,
superstition, or was it just like
the
coincidence?
is that called? Well, it just I was trying to hit like five birds with one stone. I
Right.
mean, yeah, I ran all the errands I could run before I get home, and then when I got home, we had a plumber come in, and then we had a guy like take care of some stuff here. So we had somebody fixing stuff around the house, and I had to obviously supervise that. And then we were supposed to attend mass at our clubhouse because we haven't attended mass in a long time, and my kid's not even baptized yet. So, but we got there, and the mass was already done. So the wifey said she wanted to go to Azuela Cove. Is that Azuela? Is that Azuela, babe? Azuela, yeah. You know where Azuela is, right? Was it around
I
when you were
heard of it. I
here?
haven't been there. No, it wasn't around yet when I
Yeah.
was there.
So we
My
went there
sister
because
would
they
talk about it a
supposedly have
lot.
lights.
Right.
So they supposedly have like lights and stuff that kids can see at night, and so we went there, and then it drizzled a little bit, so we had to come home. But the kids saw some of the lights, and I was like, oh, should I have a show? So we got home, but we got stuck in traffic. Then we got home, and then when we got home, the wifey has orders to fill. So that's basically my excuse, man. So pardon to everybody if we started late, and then we weren't able to have a show. We were supposed to have a show on Sunday because I had a gig Saturday, so it's all on me. And we were supposed to have a makeup show
No, I
yesterday.
didn't feel like doing
So
it too because it was so cold Sunday. No, it was so cold since last week. Sunday was the worst. It's still very cold right now.
I
I think
can
it's already
only
winter over there.
imagine.
Yeah.
And it
I
does,
was like, oh
and
my
and
god.
and the weather, the climate, it has a huge effect on your mood or just your mindset, right? Like
Ah,
I
it's
mean,
it's so different, man.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
living in the Philippines for 28 years before, coming to Japan. I mean, this feeling during the winter, waking up in the morning and going to work, man, that's the hardest. I mean, that's just terrible.
Yeah.
Rainy season
Yeah.
in the Philippines. Like if it's just raining in the Philippines, you'd be like, "Oh, I don't wanna report to work. I just wanna like lie down." It's just freaking rain.
It's
it's not
just
even
rain. I know. I
cold.
know.
It's just rain, man. I mean,
I know.
imagine if it's like 8 degrees Celsius or 6 degrees Celsius, and it's freezing outside. Then you get to your
That's
school,
right.
one of my schools, um, because of Corona, they weren't turning on the heaters yet. So it was kind well, I don't think it was that. I mean, okay, here's the rule: if it's below 10, schools would start, turning on those heaters. But it
Mm-hmm.
really varies because some schools are more lenient these days, and they would just turn it on if
Mm-hmm.
kids feel they're cold. But with
Yeah.
that particular school that I went to, man, it nobody turned on the heaters there. Not in the classrooms, not in the teachers' room. So it was
So
just
it's
it was
like,
just so
w-
cold.
so what would be your estimate? Like, how do you guys go there? Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Celsius. Japan is Celsius.
Celsius. Okay. So I'm not too
I feel like
familiar
it's
with Celsius,
about like
but it's cold.
11, 11 between 9 to 11. But dude, that's that's cold, man. I
Yeah, I
mean, for
can
a
imagine,
Filipino,
man.
that's cold. That's
I
cold
can
for a
imagine.
Filipino. I mean, if,
I
if,
can
if you're from
imagine.
Nebraska or if you're from Colorado,
I
I don't know. I mean, if you're
I
from the
I think
UK,
I think we
that's
were in
nothing to
Hong
you.
Kong
But
once, and
Mhm.
we were in Hong Kong, and it was January, and it was like one of the coldest for Hong Kong, and I think it was 16, and
Right.
smoke was already coming out of our mouth.
16,
It was 16. It was only
16.
16. Smoke was already coming out of our mouth. So it was already
Holy
like it was
crap.
chilly. I mean, and there it's like what you said, 11.
Yeah,
That's like
between
what?
9
That's
to
five
11.
degrees. That's 5 degrees
I know.
colder, man.
All right,
So
okay, let's check.
all right. So
Let's check now. Like, what's
anyway,
the
shout
see?
out.
Right now it's
Say go.
9. Right now it's 9. Plus there's
Yeah, it's
thunderstorm.
cold. It's
It's
cold. It's
winter.
cold.
It's 9. Plus there's rain.
It's cold.
Holy
It's
crap!
cold.
So it's well, I
And
wasn't
Japan
feeling it
is,
Sunday, yesterday as well.
so
But yeah,
yeah. Hi baby. Say hi to Kuya CJ. He's watching. Hi CJ. Hi to Gab. Everybody's saying hi Bagik.
hi
The wifey the
Rye,
wife the
hi
wifey shows up for like a
Bags.
second and everybody's like greeting the wife already. Hi to
Right, of
CJ, hi to
course. I mean, they're
Gab.
tired of your face. A fresh face
I
comes
know.
in. They're
I
like,
know.
"Oh, hey, hello, oh,
No, no, no.
get out of
Here's the
there, Rye.
thing.
Get out of
They
there,
don't have to
Ice."
greet us. We greet ourselves. What are you talking about? We let everybody know
Right.
whether they care or not. So just don't touch the coffee. All right. So yeah. So I say hi. Hi Kuya CJ. Say hi to Kuya CJ. CJ's like seen Rye maybe twice. Flying kiss. There you go. All right. So the question, our topic for this Tuesday. It's a Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's a Tuesday. Which is harder, to be an adult or a kid? Like in this generation, in this day and age, right? Right, Ice, or during our time? Does it matter?
Now,
I mean,
now it depends on
okay.
like I mean us. There's
No, don't
well,
remove
I don't,
Papa's
yeah, you have a
bag.
point, right? Because if we think
Yeah,
about
yeah,
childhood, we would think about our childhood. But yeah, we
yeah,
can
yeah,
talk about
yeah.
both. Like, and I mean, for
All
kids
right,
right now,
all right.
how would we be? Or I mean,
Yeah,
now that we're parents, and how is it different when we
because
were kids?
we're built differently. Like for example, if you visualize yourself as a kid now, with the mindset or with what we've been through when we were kids, it would be easier, I think. Like now, if we were kids now, it'll be a lot
Hmm.
easier. I mean, right? So we would probably say, okay, it's easier to be a kid, but because we come from where we coming from. But if you talk about the kids now, which never went through what we went through, you wait up.
Right.
All right.
He
Uh,
disagrees with you. He's like, Dad, shut
yeah, I
up. What are
know.
you talking about?
He's like,
It's so hard
he's
right
like,
now. See, you're
he's
holding me like
translating
I'm
stuff.
going away. No, just leave me alone. I just want to walk around.
I know exactly. So yeah, so I mean, like like CJ for example, like CJ doesn't know what we went through and how he was back in the day. So the childhood that he knows is just the childhood that he went through. And if it was difficult for him, it's unfair for us to judge him for that and say that he's wrong, whatever, because he doesn't know. Like maybe if he grew up during our time, maybe he would also, he'd also be able to survive it. Because most of us now, I think most of the adults now, we probably assume that the kids now won't survive or would probably go crazy if they went through our childhood. Considering how strict our parents were, how limited our sources of entertainment was, or we didn't have internet, we didn't have like a billion channels on cable or YouTube where you could watch whatever cartoon you wanted to watch for 24/7, or just how like less strict the parents and teachers are. I mean, kids, we don't know, but that's also what we went through with our parents. Our parents would always tell us, "Nung bata ako, when I was a kid, I used to walk this far." Like my dad told me a story that he actually used to steal eggs from their neighbor, I think, and like
Mhm.
because he loved eating eggs, and he would like, and they didn't always have eggs in the house because he grew up with his grandparents, and my dad grew up in the province, so he said he would put like two eggs in his armpit, one in each armpit, and like try to like just like go under the house of the neighbor because they have the eggs there. I mean the chickens there, and then the chickens would lay eggs, and he would steal eggs there and put it in his armpit. I'm thinking this is baloney, man. Like even like if you put this through MythBusters and you try putting an egg in your, it's not gonna, dude. That thing's gonna break, dude. I mean, you think you have enough like control? Can you imagine yourself
He
ice
probably
putting?
did. But I don't have the skills. Your dad
I don't have
probably,
this. I can't even
he probably
like
had the skills.
right. That's tough, and nobody will like. What's the point? Like,
If
wouldn't
you
it be
love
so
eggs that
obvious?
much, if you love eggs that
You'll
much, you
find a
might probably
way.
develop that skill. Yeah, you'll find a way not to break
But I
those
mean, is it?
eggs between your armpits.
But that isn't. Would it be more concealed if he was just holding it, like just like? Because I mean, if you put it in an armpit, it's more obvious. Like, what are you, like Johnny Bravo or something? I mean, think about it. The eggs would show up. I mean, he was a kid, but
No,
I
he
was
was
thinking
probably
maybe
just
this is
doing
this is
this,
like okay. Did
not
you
really
ever
doing
tell
this.
Snow a baloney story from your childhood just to like convince her to like obey you or something, or everything you've said to her about your childhood was like the truth?
No, I just tell her that what she does right now. I mean that would warrant a slap on the face. Like every time she does something, I'd be like, you know what? If you did that to your mamai, like I'm talking about my mom, if you did that to your mamai, you would get slapped on the face just like that. And she'd be like, really? I'm like, yeah. And I would say like I did that and I got slapped on the face. And then Snow would be like, what? She'd like get mad. Why did she do that or something? I'm like, well, that was that's how it was. You do something stupid, you get slapped in the face, and that's it. I mean, no questions asked. So she
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
like, yeah. I don't tell her
So
other stories and stuff like that. I
so you
mean,
didn't have
my
to,
dad
right?
used to do that. No, no. I mean, when I was growing up, my dad would tell me stuff about like only having one pair of shoes and stuff like that, and it's kind of like a downer. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
is. It
come on,
is.
it has nothing to do with her life right now. I mean, why would I tell her about like, oh, I really wanted shoes and I can't? I'm like, dude. I mean, I have so many shoes now. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's no
Yeah,
point
yeah,
of like bringing it up, and I want her to have nice shoes. So I don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I
My
know.
dad
I
was
don't think you want your
really
kid to just have one
so
pair of shoes, right?
right? No, he was
Yeah,
just so into it. Like telling us about like, oh, when I was a kid, I used to sell ice drops, ice buko. I was like
yeah,
what in
yeah,
second grade, third grade, already started working, and I was like, all right, fine. And we all did that too because in elementary school we started selling newspapers and whatnot. But then now, I mean, it's not applicable to Snow. I cannot tell her that. Oh, you know what? I sold newspapers on the street. I collected bottles and garbage and whatnot. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's relatable to her. So I don't see the point of actually sharing it to her right now. I don't know. Maybe when she's older, I could probably like tell her just to probably amuse her, not to really, I mean, I wouldn't want her to sell
yeah.
newspaper. I mean, where will you sell newspapers here? You can't sell newspapers
I-
here.
And, and,
I'd
and,
probably
and it
encourage
just
her
goes to,
to have
it
a
just goes
part-time
to
job in the
show
future.
you, your
Right.
story alone. It just goes to show the kids now too. The kids have to understand this and appreciate their parents more, because it just goes to show you that the parents back then were mean to their kids. They were mean, like literally, like if they could make
Dude,
their kids
okay.
sell newspaper or ice drop or whatever, they would. Like for me, I would, even if we were hard up, like I would exhaust every effort to spare my child from doing that. Maybe because times now are more dangerous, and back then it's okay for kids to do that. But I mean, literally, like your parents would literally like make you eat crap, and at the end of the day, that they could probably buy you a hot dog and something good. They're just like too cheap to do it, and they just and it's like back then parents were fine with seeing their kids like suffer. Like they could make sacrifices and their kids have to sacrifice along with it. Whereas with us now, we make sacrifices so our kids are pampered and kids live in comfort. I mean, back then we had to beg. Like the only time we get to use the air conditioner in the house back then was when my aunt Bless from the States would come and visit. And I don't know, for some reason, my grandmother won't react if she says yes. Like we would like, Auntie, can we turn on the aircon? Because there's only one room in the house with an air conditioner, and that was the master bedroom. And my aunt would be there, and we would play, and my sister and I would be like, hey, let's talk to Auntie Bless. And like, Auntie, can we turn on the aircon? And when my Auntie Bless says, yeah, then we turn on the aircon, and my grandmother doesn't react. But when my aunt's not there, when she's in the States, any time of the year, even if it's super hot, if we tell our grandmother to turn the aircon, she will never turn the aircon on because she's so kuripot. You know, she'd be like, no, we have a fan, you have an electric fan, that's it. But now it's like 5 seconds that the air conditioner's off, your kid's sweating bullets already. And you're like, oh my god, we gotta turn the air conditioner on because our kids, go discomfort. I mean, a kid's not gonna die if the air conditioner's not on, but it seems like that's just how it is now. It's not the things that were luxury for us back then is a necessity now. And that's why I'm saying that the parents back then, there were a lot of stuff that they could afford for us. They could find ways, but they didn't, and they were fine. They didn't feel guilty about it. They didn't feel bad. They didn't feel like they were bad parents, for not being
Oh,
able to. And my mom's the same way, right?
my mom, I would say that my mom felt guilty a lot. My dad, no, he didn't feel, any guilt. He was just like, I told you about that story when I was
It's
in
like my
college, right?
mom.
All right, like
Yeah,
they never felt any
yeah.
guilt. Like, oh, we don't have any money. You have to stop going to school. I'm like, what? I'm on my last semester. What are you talking about? I
Okay.
want to finish my
Would
college.
it be
And
because you
he's
were
like, what do you
boys?
want me to do? Rob a bank? What?
You think that would have anything to do with it because you were boys? Like if Kakay was there
No, I
already,
don't
like
think
you think
so.
you would have been more like
Dude,
I'm
Kake was
was
already
you
bored when I was in college. What are you talking about?
okay, so
Kake was
she was
already
she
was
she went
already
down with the
around.
ship, huh? She she went down with the ship.
So,
All right.
oh yeah,
Okay.
that was just
So
that was terrible.
let's
Well,
get to
she
the
wasn't
topic
in
then.
school yet, so she wasn't in school yet. But I
All right,
mean,
all
that's
right.
what
But she was
that's what
around.
he
She was
said to
around.
me. Right.
Let us know, Gab. Which is harder, to be an adult or a kid? Now it's up to you if you want to put yourself as a kid back when you were a kid, or imagine yourself as a kid now. Now, okay, for me, if we're talking about now, um, you have to take a lot of things into consideration. All right, when you say when you say kid or adult, the first thing you would probably consider is the financial situation. Like if you were a kid and your parents are well off, then obviously it's okay to be a kid. I mean, but you're talking about you're a kid and you go through hard times and your parents are having a hard time, raising you and providing for the family, then it's gonna be hard either way. It's hard both ways. So are we talking about like in a middle class family? Are we talking about I mean, is does it matter? I mean, I think it matters.
I mean, no, I
I
mean,
think it matters, right?
generally, as a kid, I mean, you're
Whether
a
you're
kid.
rich or
You're a
poor.
kid. You're a kid. Yeah, I guess. I mean, kids are kids. Does it
Okay,
really
not
matter?
necessarily like the financial aspect of it. Just basically your freedom and the things you can do
I mean,
and
okay,
the
here's
life
the
that you
thing. Here's
live.
the thing. Okay, if you're poor, you don't really have that much pressure on. I mean, there. I mean, it's a different kind of pressure, right? It's kind of like life and death. For I mean, for people who are like really poor, but they
Yeah.
don't have that problem to just keep up with the Kardashians. They don't have
Yeah,
that
yeah.
problem. They don't have that
Got it.
problem upgrading their iPhones. They don't have a problem upgrading their cars or whatever.
No.
I mean, it's a different problem. So it's more of um, every person, every every type of person has has their own set of problems. So I
True,
think
true.
let's just like
Rich or
let's
poor.
stick with the
Yeah.
general, like the
Okay. So
as an adult.
generally, as a kid or as an adult. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll answer this first. Which is harder to be an adult or a kid? I would have to say, it's harder to be. For me, I think it's harder to be a kid. It's harder to be a kid. It's actually harder to be a kid now, mainly because of of the unknown. You know, there are a lot of things that's going on right now that's like
Mhm.
the first time. So the children of this like present time kids now, they will be the first to become adults growing up with internet. Like, because when we encountered internet, we were adults already, or at least we were in college already, or whatever. So we already had that foundation of we know how life was without it. We know how life was without all the information thrown into
Dude,
your brain
the
all
internet
of a
back in
sudden.
college
The
wasn't really
kids
the
now, dude.
internet yet. It was the
Yeah,
internet,
yeah,
but
that's
it
true.
wasn't really the internet now.
It
It was
didn't
like
matter. That
MIRC.
didn't
It's like
count.
it didn't.
That
Yeah, I
didn't
know.
count.
It didn't, yeah, it didn't count.
Okay, that
I was
didn't
like,
count. All right, all
it
right.
takes
So
it takes a lifetime to load stuff. You know, you can't even watch a video. The only thing that you can do is like chat. You don't even know if these people were real. You know what I'm saying?
it was just
I
no,
didn't even
you know,
know.
the internet back then was just like as long as you connected, that was it. You felt good, you know, regardless
Oh
if you were
yeah,
productive or
connected.
not.
I didn't. Okay,
Regardless if you were
I
productive
didn't
or
even know how to make an email back then. I was like, how do you make an email? It's like I was just like there. I
yeah,
went to the library and
I
started
remember
using my internet library card, and it was just like there chatting. I was just like using MIRC and going to Yahoo, and I tried
same
like
here.
you know like looking for
What was your
images. Like
first
I would go
email
like
account? My first email account was like Hotmail. It
I
was
think
Hotmail.
Hotmail. I think it was
Hotmail,
Hotmail.
right?
I think
Hotmail.
it
I
was
think most of us
Hotmail.
was Hotmail, and then there was
Right.
Rocket Mail, and then I don't know
I
why
think there was
Yahoo
Rocket.
wasn't
I
around
heard of that.
then. Yeah, then there was
Um,
Rocket Mail.
I would like
Yeah,
search
that
stuff
didn't count.
like Playboy Playmates, whatever. I mean, those
It
were the
takes
only things that we
forever.
know, right?
It takes
Yeah,
forever.
it takes 30 minutes for one image to load completely.
Bye
Imagine the jerking off. How long will it take? I mean, if
Oh
the
yeah,
loading is
Eudora,
30 minutes,
Eudora Mail. I remember Eudora Mail,
oh,
Gab.
Eudora
Yes,
Mail,
Eudora Mail.
yes,
That's
Eudora.
right. Eudora
Dude, is it
Mail.
still
Oh,
around?
that's old school.
Eudora, it's still
See why
around?
it's harder to be an adult? Like, well, it depends. I guess if you're an adult, you don't have kids. That's different. All right, so I would have to say for me, I will just say it's harder to be a kid because it's it's scary because I mean I'm putting myself in a position where if I mean if I was a kid now and I have all this information thrown at me and yet with like limited knowledge and whatever I can do with it, it's like it's kind of you feel helpless, you know? You feel like you're powerful but then helpless at the same time. All right. So
True, true.
Gab said kids have lots of energy, no money, lots of time. Adults have some energy, some money, some time, and old people have zero energy, a lot of money, and a lot
You
of
know why they
time.
have a lot of money, old people? Because they don't spend it anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
where would you spend it? I mean, right? I mean, are you gonna go to the clubs? No. Are you gonna go drinking? No, because you're old.
Wag mo na, wag mo na.
If you keep on drinking, you're gonna die. So that's why you have lots of
Yeah.
money because you have nothing to spend on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. I agree. There's they have nothing to spend on, and old people, you know, it's I mean, I don't want to get to that point also in my life where it's like, you know, when you get old, it's I don't want to I don't get
Getting
to that point.
there,
I
getting
want to be
there,
able to
getting
I
there.
want to be able no, we're already there. I want to be able to I want to be able to at least enjoy myself, you know, regardless of whether it involves spending money or not. I want to be able to enjoy myself before I get to a point where I can barely move already. Because we're already getting there. I'm telling you, I bend down, I'm already getting there. Okay, so which is harder to be an adult or a kid? It's scarier to be an adult because obviously death is near. But as a kid, it's also scary because you're being an adult. It's not yet a guarantee. I mean, you right? I mean, you're a kid. There's just a pandemic for crying out loud. You know what if the next pandemic wipes out half of the world? Knock on wood. I mean, I hope it doesn't happen, but you just like you at least for us, we lived a life as a kid already. When you're an adult, you can already say, okay,
Mhm.
I know how it feels like to be a kid, and I also know what it feels like to be an adult. But if you're a kid, it's still not a guarantee that you're gonna experience adulthood. And if you do, if it's gonna be a tolerable situation. So being an adult, I would have to say it's harder to be a kid. If I was given a choice, if I could be a kid again right now or be where I'm at, ooh, that's actually tough. But I probably choose to be where I'm at, just for the fact that I know if I become a kid again, I'll restart. and I don't want to restart. Like I want to. I like the me who knows the world before this. Because like we're stronger. I think in that way, and we have a certain we have a certain mindset because of it. Whereas like people like CJ or people like the much younger folks that we that listen to us. I mean, CJ has a lot of different. His fears are different. Like the stuff that bothers him are different. Like Siege, he says you don't. High school didn't have air conditioning, so yeah, it's not bad to turn off the aircon. He said you don't have the existential crisis of what to do with your life since they're so focused on education. Okay, so he's talking about being a kid. Just like love these days, if there's a if there's a hole, there's a way. If get anything is either it's both crap. So basically, what he's saying is, when you're a kid, yeah, I guess that's also one of the reasons why it's hard to be a kid because of the education aspect. Can you imagine if you're like 10 years old? How many more years you have to be in school? How many more stuff you have to learn? How many more subjects you have to pass? How many more schoolwork you have to? Man, that's yeah. Sure, there's fun in between with friends and all that, but majority of the time, is it easier to be a student now, Ice? You think? Is it a lot easier being a student now? You think?
Well, there's not much pressure anymore. I mean, back then I remember that you can't coach your classmates, right? I mean,
No.
you get called for a recit and you stand there, you don't know the answer. Somebody tries to coach you, and teachers would be like so mean, like, no coaching. Shh. And then they would insult you after that for not studying or
Yeah.
whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, okay, here's the thing. This is what I realized. I didn't know that it was I don't know if this is just in Japan or is it like a global thing because I don't know how it is in the Philippines now. I don't know how it is in the States. I don't know how it is in Australia. But when I was in the Philippines and when I was still in school, teachers were mean. I remember one time when I screamed quiet because all my classmates were noisy. The teacher came
Mm-hmm.
in and asked who screamed, and she just slapped my face. She, like, no, she didn't slap my face. She slapped my mouth, right? She slapped my mouth, and I was
Mm-hmm.
coming from a different school. Okay, I went to Ateneo, then I moved to Assumption, right? So Jong knows who the teacher is. Well, he's not listening right now, but okay, when I was in Ateneo, you could do that, and you wouldn't get into trouble. But when I moved to that school, I did that, and I get slapped on the mouth, and I was like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so it could be an isolated case. It could be just that particular teacher was just I don't know. She was probably having a bad day, or I don't know. But
Yeah.
common denominator is for most teachers back then they're just mean. If you don't know the answer they would insult you. They would like you sit your ass down, whatever. They just like look down on you or whatever, and they wouldn't
Yeah.
allow other kids to help the kids who don't know the answers. Like it's just it's not a test, so it's just a recitation. So
Yeah.
when I came here and I started teaching, it was different because the kids can coach kids. If they don't know the answer, they would like whisper and like they don't want the other kid to be embarrassed. They want him to be able to answer. So I don't know if
Like
if
it's
it's a thing
okay.
now all over the world, or is it a Japanese thing? But that's how it is
Well,
here. Like they like
you're not even supposed to fail kids now, right? Right? Is that
I
like
don't know. Like,
a new
well,
thing
in
now?
Japan,
They're not.
it's been, well, in Japan, it's been like that ever since. Like they do not fail kids here. They always move up until high school. In high school, you can fail, but in Japan, ever since they never fail kids because it's a right to be. I think it's more of like it's a right to be in. You have the right to be in school and stuff like that, and they would they would give you all the help that you need. And they would just keep on just moving you
Like you
up
don't have to
until
make
junior
the
high
like
school.
you're not supposed to like make the child feel
Even
like
if
they're
you
worthless or something like right? Something like that.
Yeah, I mean there are kids who wouldn't go to school for 3 months. The next year they'd still be on the next level. So it's like that. But what I'm saying is now it's just in the classroom setting. I'm not, yeah, like with kids getting low scores, they're being encouraged, but they're not being scolded. Like even teachers would tell you, as a parent, do not scold your kids. Please do not scold your kids because it's okay. Like please help them to study, blah blah blah. But if they get a low score, do not get mad at them because their fear is that if the kids get stressed and they decide not to go to school anymore, that would be a bigger problem, right? So
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
everybody's helping each other. Like, well, during tests you can't do that, but like they nobody's embarrassed because you said the wrong thing. Nobody laughs
Yeah.
at you because you said the wrong thing. Back then, I get
Yeah.
laughed at if I say the wrong thing. If I mispronounce a freaking letter, I get laughed at and I get insulted. And
Yeah.
it
Dude,
doesn't happen
dude,
here in Japan. So I don't know if it's a
a teacher would
thing
throw an
only
eraser
in
at you,
Japan where
right?
exactly,
Or a
exactly
chalk.
eraser, a
You
chalk,
stupid.
right? You would get punched too from time to time or get kicked.
Yeah. I remember English 21. This is college already, and English 21. In Ateneo, we would if you had like, if you could not recite well, or you had like a wrong grammar, or like you were not properly pronouncing words, the teacher, I'm not going to mention his name, but our English 21 teacher would like tell you to go outside and like speak in a volume that can be heard inside the classroom and repeat the things that you made a mistake on. And that's that's pretty embarrassing, by today's standards, especially. And I'm pretty sure if that student mentioned that to the parents would call the school, and it would be an issue and all that stuff. But parents now are very protective of their kids, and the kids now also know that they kind of like have rights and all that stuff, and it's different. Back then, it was like the authority was the authority, and we respected it, and you don't
Right.
question that.
So, okay, CJ, are you talking about at home or are you talking about in school? Because if it's at home, then I would understand that. But if it's in school, that's a little bit like um ate a shoe once. What, like you ate a shoe once? Somebody made you eat a shoe in school? Oh man, that's hang on. I
Eat
mean,
a shoe
somebody needs
once.
to report something here. I
Yeah,
mean, you know
that's
what I'm
probably at
saying?
school.
Like if it's in school, that's kind of like, oh man. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, even during our time,
right.
even
I think I was
okay.
ahead of my time. I was ahead of my time because when I was running for a position in the student body in high school, I was campaigning for this. That was like in my campaign because there were teachers in my high school where they make kids eat chalk or throw chalks at kids or throw erasers at kids. Would like manhandle them or something, like physically would hurt kids, and I was campaigning against this, and I was saying that we should be able to do something about this. We should be able to file a complaint or whatever, because this is not right. I mean,
Yeah,
um, getting like getting abused by these authorities is not acceptable. Being thrown
yeah,
at by with a chalk or like eraser, or like getting slapped in the face or something. So that was
yeah,
unacceptable to me, and I campaigned for that, and um, I was saying that they could lose their jobs and whatnot, but then they spinned it differently, and they were saying like, oh, there's this kid who wants to fire teachers. They put it that way. They phrase it that way. Ah, kuyaw ni bataan ni magpatanggal og teacher, kuyawa eh. So that's how they put it, and I didn't say it like that. I said teachers who would be guilty of like abusing kids physically and blah 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 could probably lose their jobs, or they should lose their jobs because they're teachers. They're not, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you're not verdugos. You're teachers. You're there to teach, not to hurt kids. But then they phrase it differently, and a lot of I
yeah,
think I got heat um, during that
yeah,
year
yeah.
from all of the teachers, all of
True.
the faculty members of that school, because they made it look like I was saying that, oh, magpatanggal ka ng teacher, something like that. So I mean, yeah, I was like, now I'm thinking like, oh, I was way ahead of my time. I was actually,
Yeah,
I was fighting for this. Even when I was like in high school. But and then now I realize when you were saying parents, like back then our parents were mean. No, dude, everybody was just mean. I mean, I was mean probably to some other kids, but people were just mean back then. Now I think people are much nicer, I guess, in a way. I mean, we're doing something about bullying. I mean, I don't see a lot of bullying, at least here where like where I go to, like the schools that I go to. I mean, it's like it's being um taken care of. They try to do something about it, and I don't see that much bullying or maybe I just don't see it. But I don't see it that much compared to our days.
What about like because I mean, when you say you'd rather be a
Oh, is it happening again? Is Rod's internet down again? Oh my god! Holy crap! Anyway, okay, I'm gonna read messages. Well, it was a casual scolding, rarely happens, but damn, the guy deserved the thrown eraser at. Well, actually, we and the teachers have a close relationship, so yeah, it was kind of fun, honestly.
I don't know what it
GG
is about
Rod,
the internet.
good game.
At the, I don't
Good
I,
game.
I don't know what it is about the internet at this time that it always just like starts screwing up at around 9 p.m. I don't know what it is. I don't. It must be like something in our neighborhood or
Maybe they know
whatever.
we're doing the show and they just want to mess it up.
I know.
Oh,
I'm
they're doing the
starting to
show. Let's mess with these guys. There you go
suspect.
again.
I
There,
expect it was
there.
fine earlier. Like because if we were not doing the show, the internet's fine. Like I don't like. I mean, back then, yeah, there was a time when we had problems, but the whole like network had problems. But now I don't hear of any problems or issues. I don't know why this is messing up. My bill's not
We
due
are being
yet. I paid
targeted.
my bills on
I
time.
think we're being targeted.
We are being
We're being targeted.
thumbs up. Some
Thanks.
powerful people
Let's
behind
shut
us.
these.
All right. So, anyways, earlier before we got cut off and I disappeared, I was trying to say that like
They
we're
don't
talking
need to
about
shut
is it
us up
harder to be an
because
adult or a kid, right?
nobody can understand you. All right, okay, right, yeah, yeah. We're talking about which
Yeah,
is
which
harder
is
to be an
harder.
adult or a kid.
Yeah, to be an adult or a kid. So we I don't know if being a teenager is included in the kid category or kid is a
Oh yeah,
kid
we,
because
we
I
can
mean like
talk
being a
about that.
teenager okay, so
You're not an adult yet, so
being a
yeah. I mean, it's
teenager
either you're an
is
adult or
like
not. Right? Okay.
I think it's when you're a kid, a lot of the things that you go yeah,
Oh crap.
a lot of the things that you go through when you're a kid, you don't really realize if you're getting the short end of the stick until later. Like when you're a kid, you're a kid. You just go through the process. You just go through the motions of being a child. You're enjoying it. Either you get whatever your parents provide for you, you accept it. Whatever they can't, you kind of mumble about. But when you become a teenager, it's like your kids sort of like they have minimal. They start to lose their control of you. They start to lose their influence upon you because you're starting to have a mind of your own. You have your own friends. You're starting to have your own opinion, and it's you lose the innocence, but you don't also have the resources to do anything about it. And I think that's such a frustrating and at the same time it's such an exciting stage in your life where you know all the things that you'll experience during your teenage life, but a lot of it is up to chance and not much on whether it's because it's what you want. Because like when you're an adult, if you want something, most likely you can afford it. If you're a child, if you're a teenager and you want so many things, you want to go out with your friends, you want to go to Starbucks with your friends, you want to date this girl, you want to go to Boracay during La Boracay, you want to attend a concert. All of these things you want to and you're supposed to be doing at that age, but you're not in this financial situation that you can afford it, so you would have to depend on the adult, or unless there are kids out there that work at a call center already, so I guess some of them can, but not all. Whereas when you're a kid, you don't really like complain too much. Like it's just like you just go through the motions. I don't know, like when I was growing up with my older sister, and there were things that were that our parents could provide for us, and we were like fine. We never really like became too serious or became emo or whatever. It's when you become a teenager that's when the emotions really kick in. Raj, Raj, we just got that, okay? So anyways, so you know what I'm saying. It's like teenagers different.
You get cut off.
um
You get cut off every now
you
and
know
then.
anyway,
Right, right, okay. But it
Siege.
continues. So,
I
um,
know
how?
you're
Well,
I see,
guys, can you
and I
understand
know I'm getting
Rod?
cut
Because
off
me,
because like I
I'm
see
like
you
I'm
going like
missing
this.
out on some words. Right. I mean, Gab,
I don't think they
Sage.
can.
because it continues. Like you get paused for a bit, like half a second, and then you go back talking. But
'Cause
there are
like
some
I don't
words
want to
that
talk
you
anymore.
get.
Yeah, I mean that's the case. It's pointless.
I know. I'm
Yeah,
trying to like.
there's your
I
powers
can
beyond
basically
our
understand you
control. That
like
I have control of this.
70%. But all
Hold
right,
on, hold on.
Gabby,
I'll be back.
CJ. All right, so we're talking about which is harder to be an adult or a kid, and well, basically, a lot of people would say like, yeah, I mean, when you're a kid, you can't really do something about your situation. There are a lot of things that you would want to do that you just can't because I mean, you're a kid, right? You're too dependent on your parents' control, your parents' authority. And if you're in school, then you have your teachers there. If you're with your grandparents, then probably get a little bit of freedom because grandparents do that. They kind of like sort of just let you do things, and they're more generous than your parents. At least that's how my grandparents were, and how my in-laws and my mom is to my daughter. So I think that's how it is. But still, um, being a kid is I think, well, yeah, we would say that, well, it's kind of easy compared to being adult because you don't have responsibilities and whatnot. But I mean, this is what I'm saying. It's so hard because you can't do anything about your situation. I mean, you don't have responsibilities, but you really can't do what you want. You know, I mean, you go to school. Um, I mean, if you're lucky, your parents would just leave you alone after school. But then there are some parents who would just like enroll you into something that maybe your parents wanted to do it back then, but they couldn't, so they let you do it. They make you do it, not let you make you do it. Right? Oh, I didn't play basketball when I was a kid. You play basketball now. Oh, I didn't know how to play the guitar. You play the guitar. I mean, like that can happen. It's kind of like sad. Putol putol si Rod.
CJ got
Just
thrown
like
a
that.
shoe once, and he said it was casual scolding.
Well, okay. You got okay. Shoe landed on your face, whatever, or maybe you dodged it, but you call that casual scolding? Wow. I mean, what's a not casual scolding? What's a serious scolding? Latigo, buntot ng pagi. Is that a serious? Is that the serious punishment or the serious scolding? Holy crap! Oh, the shoe part was a
Oh, the shoe
classmate. All
part was
right.
classmate. Yeah. So you're right, Ice. You were like that's an issue if a teacher did that. That's not that
Right.
should not
I mean, if your
happen.
mom did it,
Um,
oh, that's your
I mean, with a
mom.
classmate,
They
anything
have
can
every
happen.
right
Yeah, yeah,
teacher.
yeah. I know, I know.
Man.
That's like, but
I
a
mean, I would
teacher,
tell a
no,
teacher,
no,
"Hey,
no,
come
no, no
on,
way.
let me take care
And
of
I think
that. I'll
teachers
finish
now
this
they
with my
know they're
son.
like, a lot-
Don't throw a
uh,
shoe at him."
the teachers are programmed differently now. They're programmed differently now. I guess with how to deal with kids. They're a lot actually. When you before like, I remember before it was like you were afraid if your parents would get to talk to the teacher because the teacher would like hold nothing back and like tell your parents that you said hey have a meeting with the teachers. I'm actually the one saying, oh, is Raj doing this, is Raj like this, is Raj like that, and the teacher's actually the one going, no, 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 he's fine, daddy, he's fine, he's doing. I'm the one actually freaking out. So I think teachers now they've been trained to, I don't know if it's like a DepEd thing or I don't know, it depends on the school that you enroll your kids at. They're kind of programmed to like understand kids now and be more patient with children.
I
And
think so. I think teachers
I
should
guess it's just,
be
like I said,
should be more equipped with
it, it,
with these things
right.
on how to deal with kids because they work with kids. You can't have a teacher throwing shoe at people or at kids. I mean, you're dealing with kids all the
Yeah.
time. I mean, that's your job.
Yeah, but
I mean, you have
and you have to
to.
think too. You have to think too. Social media has a lot to do with this. Social media has a lot to do with this. I mean, if a teacher does that and somebody takes a video of that teacher doing it and then it's shared all over social media, that teacher's career is done. It's goodbye. So I think a lot of it has to do with
Well, I think it should be. I think it should be.
this the issue too of like, I mean, back in the day, we didn't. I mean, it wasn't an issue back then. Like if something happened at school, and now because back then it was just between the student, the teachers, and the parent. Now it's like it could be between the teacher, the student, the parents, and the entire group of friends watching it on Facebook. all the people watching it on Facebook or wherever ends up being, because everyone now will have an opinion about something that they don't know nothing about, and they will just base your opinion and their judgment and their emotions on the video that they see. That 5 second clip of somebody throwing something. Whereas back in the day, nobody would know about that except for this the parent, the student, and maybe the classmates who witnessed it, and it stays there. And I think if, like I said, if I were a teacher, if I were an employee, knowing that everything can be recorded and used against me, or I can be judged if I just like, did something out of the ordinary, then I think, yeah, we all should be very careful. I mean, whether you're a media personality, whether you're a teacher, and I think that's one of the things that I feel bad for the kids, because like there are a lot of things now that they can't do, or they're fearful of doing because of the social media thing. That you can easily be judged, you can easily be labeled, you can easily be your actions, stupid or otherwise, can easily be recorded till the end of time for everyone to just like view over and over again. Because we did a lot of things that just we got away with, because it was not recorded, or because nobody was able to see it besides wherever we were with doing it. And now the kids now, it's like they have to be. But the funny thing is, they also do it to themselves. Like a lot of the kids, if they appear in a video scandal, they did that to themselves. If they do a TikTok dance and they reveal something, they did that to themselves. Nobody stopped them or pressured them into doing it. So maybe they just need attention. Need attention, and then when they get attention, they cry. That stuff. Yeah, everything you do creates ripples in every aspect of your life. That's true. That's why be careful when you're a kid. Be careful when you're a teenager, because you will pay. I mean, you will either reap the rewards or you will pay for the consequences. It's one of the two. I would rather reap the rewards. That actually makes being a kid and an adult harder these days. All right. So, CJ says, yeah, being a kid is hard. Being a kid and an adult, both are hard. So, Ice, for you, what's harder?
Well, I think being an adult is hard. All the responsibilities. I mean, right? Your metabolism slowing down. You have less free time. The world won't slow down for you. Man, all those continue watching stuff on your streaming service. It's just frustrating. It's just disappointing. It's just like depressing. You go on Netflix and I'm like, oh, there's so many other things I haven't finished yet. And you don't have the time, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, yeah. I mean, being an adult is I thought it was all about just getting that cedula and being able to watch all the bomba movies that you can, but I mean, clearly it's not just about that. I mean, you continue moving forward, you continue doing stuff, and you continue to, I mean, you continue to be an adult, and people expect things from you, and you have to live up with those standards, and that's kind of hard. Gabby saying on part of a male adult is sure to be one part of a male adult is sure to be like, all right, okay, all right, come on, Gab.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're a kid, it's your head that's hard. When you're an adult, it's your other head that's hard. You know what I'm saying? Tigas na ulo mo. Like if your parents say to you, yan tigas na ulo mo, they know they mean your head. But if your girlfriend says, ang tigas na ulo mo,
Like,
which ulo? Piloso
kanina
mo!
pa tigas na tigas yan.
I knew we were gonna end up talking about this again. I knew this was the
Pag
direction we
hubo
were headed. See, just look at the topic
for
again. Which
adults
is harder?
only.
When you
Being an adult or
when you have a perverted mind, you can actually read the topic. Which is harder, an adult or a kid? A teenager. A teenager is the hardest.
holy crap. Holy
An
crap.
adult, it's kind of 50-50, you know? When you're a kid, you're like, yeah, I guess you're sprung too. Remember that song, I'm Sprung?
Yeah, yeah,
Who
yeah.
sang that? Who sang that?
I'm
Was that
sprung. I'm sprung.
was that
I'm
Cisco? Was
sprung.
that was that
Hang on.
was that R. Kelly? No, was that R. Kelly?
No, no, no. I'm
I'm
sprung.
sprung.
T Pain? Is it T Pain?
Oh
T
yeah,
Pain
yeah. I think
featuring
it could be
someone.
it. It might be T Pain. It might be T Pain. Yes, it's T Pain. Wow. So
Ah, thank you very
Iceman
much.
is the DJ. Yeah, Iceman is
Oh,
the
I
R and
like
B guy. So anything R and B, ask Iceman.
T-Pain, right? So
Anything
it's
alternative
T-Pain.
rock, ask me. I mean, that we have our strengths, we have our specialties at that station. God, I miss DJ days. All right, so anyways, so we're talking about which is harder, an adult or a kid, which is wetter. Yeah,
That
you
part
said
too, because if you're an adult, that's just the end. That's just the end of it, right? I mean, romance is over for you. Especially if you've settled down and whatnot. I mean, that's just it will get
the
monotonous.
excitement, the
Whether you,
excitement,
yeah,
that
things
excitement of
will
romance.
get
Yeah,
monotonous whether you like it or not, and
that's true.
it's
That's
one of
true.
the easiest traps to fall into as an adult, and
It
that's a
is.
routine, right?
It
So,
is. Yeah.
your life's gonna get too boring, and but then boring's good, of course. Like if you watch the movie The Hitman's Bodyguard, that's what he was that's what he kept on saying. Boring is good. Boring is
Boring
good,
is
right?
good.
I mean, yeah, I mean boring's good. I mean,
You
monotonous
think you
life.
think that's why like some adult guys like they decide to have mistresses because it makes them young again. It gives it,
Probably. I think so. I
it
mean,
gives them that excitement
there's
again.
no
Like,
other
oh my god, it
explanation.
feels
Of
like I'm in
course.
college again, right?
I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
assume so. I would assume
I'm
so
alive
because
again.
that yeah, it makes you feel alive, right? I mean,
It does. It
everything's
does.
not I mean, everything's not, I mean, figuratively speaking, everything's dead. You know what I'm
Alive.
saying? It's just like, all right, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're happy, yeah, monotonously happy, right? Boringly happy, but yeah, I mean, which do you want? Exciting life, but I mean, I mean, yeah, it's exciting, but then it's full of stress probably because it's so much. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
But if it's boring, it's just like, all right, it's just
Why,
boring.
why get a
I mean,
mistress? Just do something else in bed. Change the little things. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm
get
I get how
get
that feels because
Christian
like
Christian
I've had
J.
a girlfriend before, and then I had another girlfriend. Iceman knows how that feels for sure. I mean,
I'm a
it's
realist.
different. Ice. It's different.
I'm
It's
a
different.
realist. It,
CJ.
it is different. It is different.
It's
It is different. I
different.
mean,
It's different.
like the romance, I mean, the game. I mean, it's all in there. The whole
Yeah.
package, the whole shebang. Okay, do you
Yeah.
also have this feeling that other people have it all figured out? It's one of the things that make me feel being an adult is hard. How about you guys? When did you feel you have life figured out? No, I haven't haven't figured it out
Uh,
yet. What are you talking about, Elaine?
um.
I haven't figured it out. I'm still trying to
Uh,
figure it out. Those
nah.
people who
It's
say that they
yeah.
have it all
It's
figured out, they're the ones who fall into like strokes or whatever. All of a sudden they get into like a big trouble or something. They say, I got it all figured out. And boom, there you go. Like, huh? You have it all figured
I
out,
think
huh? No, I
I
don't want
think
to
it,
say
it
that. No, I haven't
depends
figured it out.
also. It depends also like up to what level you want to figure out. Like if you're the type of person who's like, you're all set with like, okay, so this is how it is and this is how it's gonna be for me because your definition of life is different from my definition of life and Iceman's definition of life. It all kind of depends on like which direction we're headed. I mean, I was just talking to Iceman a couple of episodes ago about like when are you gonna like when is retirement for you, when are you gonna be, and he's like, no, I'm just gonna keep working, I'm gonna keep working until I'm still able to work and so on and so forth, and so that's how he's programmed, and I have an aunt who's the same way, she's like if she didn't have to retire, she would not have retired, and she's saved up enough money, she could go on a vacation, she could buy herself all the cool stuff, she could just relax, but that's where she finds, I think that's where she, that's the purpose for her, it's like she enjoys working, she actually enjoys being productive. Some people don't get that, some people think everybody who's working is miserable, and if that's why you should not work because but Ice and I, we were working as DJs, we weren't miserable, we were having the time of our life, which is kind of funny because when you think about it, we were experiencing the times of our life, it was like when we were working. But it really kind of depends on the nature of the job too and the kind of person you are. So for Elaine, he says, people at my age or even lower than mine have a stable job, a house, savings, a baby on the way. All right, I get you. Well, that part, a baby on the
Yeah,
way, that's when you're going to realize you haven't figured it out yet.
exactly. You know what,
That's the
Elaine?
part, Elaine. I'm telling
I
you.
was, I was in your shoes years ago. That was like 20 years ago and stuff like that. And I have friends who were at that situation too: stable job, a house, savings, a baby on the way, and all of a sudden they got divorced. No, not because we didn't have we don't have divorce yet, but they separated. See, I didn't even see that coming, right? So I mean, nobody has it figured out, right? I mean, if Jennifer
Yeah,
Lopez, no, if Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt,
Brad Pitt.
I mean, two of the most beautiful people in the world. I mean, if they found a way to just divorce, to be tired of
In spite
themselves,
of having
even
everything,
yeah, in
if they were
spite of
bored, they can go
having
to
the money,
France. If they're bored
the
of France, they can
looks,
go to
whatever,
Bahamas.
right?
Yeah, if they don't like
I
the
mean,
Ferrari, they can buy the Porsche. But
nobody
still,
has it figured out. So yeah, just
um,
like these people, that's their life right now, and it's not that it's the end. I mean, now you're talking about them right now as if that's the end. There's tomorrow, there's next week, there's next year. I mean, you never know who loses a job or whose company's gonna go bankrupt or whatever. You never know that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you cannot say that, oh, they have it all figured out, because no. Like that friend that I was
no,
talking about, he had a nice job, but then when the wife left, then he left that job too, and he started from the bottom
yeah,
again. And it
yeah.
was, yeah, it wasn't all downhill from there, but he went through a tough time as well. And I
And
thought that he was like, all right.
I used to think, Ice, that the trick to, like, I would always, people would always ask me, or I would always have conversations with people, and I think maybe we've had this conversation too, where like, oh, what's the secret to happiness? And I would always, like, back in the day, I would say contentment. If you're contented, then I realized, no, it's different. Contentment is different from happiness. All right. Now, if you're contented, there's a bit of joy there to be had. Of course, I mean, you're content. It's like you've eaten enough. You're contented. I'm good. But there's a little bit of, like, okay, I'm just gonna, like, there's a bit of, like, okay, I'm just gonna settle for this with contentment because this is all I can have for now. That's kind of like what contentment is. But deep inside, there's that side of you that's probably going, but if I could have a little bit more, I probably would. And that's why it's called contentment. And happiness, on the other hand, is like, it's a different thing altogether. Like you could be, people could be contented with their family, but they could be happy with their, like, mistress or something. They could be contented with their SUV, but they would be happy with their sports car. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a different feeling altogether. And I think some people chase the happiness, and some people are okay with the contentment part. The contentment part is, I think, a conscious decision. You have to speak to yourself and tell yourself, I have to be contented. I'm contented now. I'm okay not chasing the happy part. This is the happy part for me. I know there's more, but this is enough. That's kind of like what being contented is. Happiness, on the other hand, is like, no, I'm not I'm not there yet. I'm going after the happiness. So I think, like with Elaine, you know, you, there comes a stage in your life where maybe some people realize that that happy part is always elusive, or maybe you'll end up risking too much of yourself, of your career, of your whatever relationships, if you go after that. But there are some people that risk it all and actually end up, really finding it. And if it takes 10 wives to find that, some people have probably gone through that. If it takes 10 houses to find the perfect house, if you need to have 5 kids to have the perfect child, I don't know what it is,
Okay, I
10,
have a
50
question for Elaine.
jobs, right?
I have a question for Elaine though. I mean, I mean, what are you trying to figure out? I mean, my question is, I mean, you're looking at these people and you're telling me that maybe they have it all figured out because they all have these things, but is that what you want to? Do you want what they have? Or is it a different thing? Because me, I never looked at other people. Like I would look at them and I'm like, all right, that's cool. But I mean, yeah, I'm happy for them. And
Uh,
it
yeah,
sure would be nice to have those things, but it's different for me. It's you know what I'm saying? It's like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
people have different lives to live, and we have different um wants, we have different desires, we have different uh, contentment. So that's my question. I mean, I mean, what's yours? What will make you happy? What will make you think that you have it figured out? I mean, a stable job, a baby on the way, a beautiful
I
wife.
think
Is that what it
I think
is?
what Elaine's saying is I think what Elaine's saying is like based on like society's definition of like the ideal situation at that stage in your life. Maybe that's like what he's referring to. So like okay, like some friends of mine, they have kids out of wedlock, or some kids of mine hiwalay sa asawa. I have friends of mine has a career but still single and they're already 50. But maybe he's talking about those people who are like at that ripe age and then they have a wife, and on seemingly maybe on social media or whatever, it looks like a situation where they seem happy and they seem contented. Now we don't know what's beneath that or what's beyond that. We can't judge. But basically I think what he's saying is like the cliche of like the typical, where you should be in your life at that age. Not necessarily what is ideal for everybody, but maybe like society's definition of, because there are a lot of people out there who are in stages in their life who might be divorced, who might be jobless, but they're happy, and they're fulfilled, and they were happier separated than they were married. So that's probably what Ice is also saying, Elaine. Like
Nagpaparinig ka ba, Brad?
that's
Jeff Boy
that's prob
Mandy.
that's probably what Ice is saying. You know what I'm saying? It's like he's fine. Like y- that's why when Elaine said,
All right.
people at my age who are even lower than mine already have a stable job, a house, have a baby on them. I think what he meant by what they have figured out is like they found they found the key to acquire those things at even a younger age or at his age.
Well, it's
Where
not a
for most
race. Well, if
people,
it's a race, I mean, in the end, it's
no,
only
but
with yourself.
no, but you have
Like,
to give them credit though that they have figured something out. Whether it's an inheritance, whether they found a high paying job, whether they made a loan or they had a business that was successful.
yeah,
I mean,
probably, but I mean,
to be young and have a house, a stable job, savings, and all that.
well, yeah,
That's
I mean
that's kind of like a good
that's
place to
good.
be
That's
in.
good, and that's fine. But all I'm saying is that well, it's really none of our business, really. I mean, it's not my business. I mean, I've had classmates who were in those situations and never really cared. I mean, like that's not my life. Why would I think about those things? I mean, that's not mine. I mean, you look at there's only one person to look at, and that's yourself. And you don't need to feel bad if you don't have what they have because well,
That's
you will
true. I
have
mean,
those things in time.
I hope Elaine, you
I
don't feel
mean,
bad. If you have friends who
well,
are in that situation, I
well,
hope
he
that's
has a
not what
real.
you
I
meant by
think he has
that.
a really nice job. I think he works for Davao Light and Power Company, and I think yeah, working for Davao Light and Power Company,
But I
I think
understand where he's
is
coming
such a good
from
deal.
too. I understand where he's coming from too, because like maybe for him that's what he's after. Because like dude, when I was in school and I was a kid, I mean, I had friends who were like in high school or maybe even in elementary who seemed like they already knew what they wanted. Like that's it. You cannot deter them. You know that they're not gonna be drug addicts. You know that they're not gonna join a gang. And like they seem to know already what they want to be. Like and then when you attend a reunion, they're exactly who you expected them to be. So they already have a game plan. I was talking about my elder sister. We all knew she was gonna be successful. We all knew what she wanted, and she went for it. And that's probably like we don't know how what Elaine's mindset is. Maybe his is that's the ideal picture for him to have savings, to have a that's his thing. So when he looks at other people and he sees them figuring it out and they're like younger than
But
him
you
or
don't
his
really
age, I'm
know,
like,
right? I mean, have you seen their bank accounts? I mean, you don't really know that.
well,
So,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying, right? I mean,
exactly.
you see them in
Exactly
all these things,
that's what I
but
was
you don't
saying.
really
Like
know
you
what's
don't know what's
underneath.
beneath that.
Oh,
You don't know what's
yeah,
beyond that. We don't know what's beyond that. That's what we see in social media. That's what they tell you, but we don't know what's beyond that.
right, right.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, we don't want to be like pessimist here or like KJs or whatever and say, oh, but
I've
underneath that,
I've
there's a
been
can
through
of
a
worms. But
lot, and now I'm here in Japan, and I just found myself, in a house that I never really thought that I would be in. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, well, life will just move on, and if it's for you, it's for you,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But you have to work for it too,
yeah.
to get those things as well. It's not like it's just gonna, drop on your right in front of you. No, it's not like that. I'm not saying it like that, but yeah, I mean, there are things that are just, I mean, they just happen. You know, I think. I mean, I see. Like I said, I haven't figured it out. All I know is that I was able to to be where I am right now. I mean, who thought that I would be in Japan? Like, I was just talking about this with my wife yesterday. I was like, I was born in the Philippines, tropical country. I never really thought of Japan ever. The only thing I know about Japan was, about samurais and World War II and nothing more. And I never really cared for Japan. Then all of a sudden, my wife, who was my girlfriend at that time, left for Japan. And I was like, all right, maybe I would be able to go there. But then, like a lot of things happened, and I was like, oh, I'm never gonna get to Japan. Never gonna see that place. And then Heroes came out. Then I met these two Japanese characters on the TV drama Heroes, and like you see Tokyo and whatnot, and like
Hiro.
that's the
That's
image.
Hiro, right?
Yeah, Hiro Nakamura, right? So that's the image that you have of Japan. But then when I got here, I didn't go to Tokyo. I came to Gifu. Gifu is like in the middle of Japan. This is like central Japan, and it's not even a metropolis. So it's a different side of Japan. And now I'm driving around, seeing all these Chinese characters, seeing all these Japanese characters, and I don't even know why I'm here. I'm just like, oh, how did I end up here? And it's been what, 14 freaking years?
Yeah.
14
Yeah.
freaking years I'm here,
Yeah.
right?
I know
And I
where you're
worked in a
coming from, man.
factory.
This
I
dude
worked in a
cried when he was going
factory.
to Japan.
Right. Yeah. I worked for Sony for 6 months. That was like, I think, the hardest job I had. I mean, it wasn't even. I mean, if there are much harder jobs if you think about it. But I mean, for me, who went through factory work at Sony, that was already too hard for me. Imagine if I worked in Kayaba, dude. You'd be like dealing with shock absorbers and whatnot, and people were telling me I couldn't do it because I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to KYB. I'm gonna work there for about a year, then quit, then go back to the Philippines. That was like the plan until I found a teaching job, and then like year after year after year. Now it's been 14 years, and still haven't figured it out. I'm like, wow, geez, I never wanted to have a house
Yeah.
here. Then all of a sudden, my daughter was born, and then I was like, I asked her one time, I was like, "Do you want to have a house? Do you want to live in a house?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "All right, we'll get a house." Then all of a sudden, we were able to get a house, and who would
Well,
even expect that?
in retrospective, Ice, if you look at it, if you look at your life now, where you're at right now, how much of it you think is like you had something to do with it? It was you led yourself in that direction, and how much of it was like you just followed the flow? Because we all
I
kind
just
of
followed the
like
flow. It was all follow the
most of
flow.
it you just followed the flow.
Yes,
Because
yes.
I
It was
think
never.
because see that's the thing. That's what's funny about it too. Because me knowing you, you've been a friend of mine for a long time. Me knowing you, and the kind of person you're probably the last person I would think of off the top of my head to be the one to follow the flow.
No,
Like
here's the
first
thing.
off, just
Here's the thing.
I mean, just as a comparison, like all of us
Right.
drink. Iceman doesn't drink. We all like there's like so many things that almost everybody around him they do, and he's always been like, no, this is that's just how he is. And for some reason so it's kind of. But then again, I don't think it's a because where he is now, it's not necessarily like a negative thing. I think drinking is different. I mean, smoking is different, or doing certain things, it's different. But he's always been probably like not the odd one out, but he's the one who's like he just sticks to his guns. And where you're at now, when you say like you follow the flow, I'm like,
Okay, here's the thing.
yeah,
Um,
right?
okay, before coming here, right? The reason why I taught in Ateneo for about a year was that my wife, my girlfriend at that time, told me that maybe you should get some teaching experience there because you might have a chance. You might have a chance to teach English here in Japan. So I did that. So I was able to teach in Ateneo for about a year. That was the whole plan. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get some experience, and I taught some Koreans too. I taught them English, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna have all these experience, but it wasn't like I was going for it. You know what I'm saying? When I got here, I was like, all
Yeah.
right, fine. I mean, I didn't like, no, I'm not gonna work as factory worker. I'm gonna be an English teacher. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go work at Sony, and I did. And it was just like, all right, but I was like, I was just tired there. Like the people I work with, they were not the kind of people that that I can call my people. So it was just like, oh, it's just so terrible. Then I was just like, oh my god, maybe I'm just gonna go home because I don't know anything in Japan. I can't speak Japanese. I can't read shit. I can't do anything by myself. So I was like, oh, it's much harder than I thought. So I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna give it a year, renew my visa, then leave, then go back. I gave myself about a year. So 6 months. 6 months after, no, it was almost 6 months. I was still with Sony, and we were just like doing our groceries, right? Yeah. So we bumped into some people. I didn't even know them. We bumped into some people, and that person happens to be a sort of English teacher. He was a sub or something. His position was like a substitute teacher, like an ALT or something. So I bumped into that person, and the person was like, "Oh, you're new here, blah blah. You want to teach?" I was like, "Yeah, can you like help me out?" And it was just he didn't even act. The person didn't even actually help me. He just gave me. Okay, it was a she. She just gave me a website. I'm like, "Oh, go to this website, and maybe you can find something there." I was like, "All right, cool." So I went home. I checked out that website, and it was full of English, like stuff, and like how to get a job or something. I was like, all right, fine. Then I sent out some applications and whatnot. Mostly they would come back and say like, oh, we're pretty sure that your English is great, but we're looking for somebody who's from the States or Australia or the UK, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And all of a sudden, there was this one company that I applied for, and um, like I thought of I did not think of it as something that would come in calling back. So I was just like I thought nothing of it. So basically, I was just like I was ready to give up. But then there was like that number that called. It was like it's just a phone number. Like here you don't answer if it's just a number that you don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, it's just a number. Should I answer this? Should I not? Then I answered it, and all of a sudden there was this British guy who was like, "Hi, good morning." And I speak with blah 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 blah. I'm like, "Oh, can you come for an interview?" And I did, and I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Oh,
Mrs.
what?"
Harry.
this
Mrs.
is
Harry.
Harry. This is Richard. Can you come to Nagoya? I'm like, all right,
This is
okay, cool.
Hagrid.
Dude, when I got there, I never thought I was gonna be hired because all the guys there were white, black and white, and I was just like, all right, if I'm like me, who's like old fashioned in a way. I'm thinking of like, well, if I'm gonna hire somebody, I'd probably go for like a black or white. I mean, I'm never
Yeah.
gonna go for brown, like especially if the passport's from the Philippines. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go for guys from the Philippines. I mean, if I'm the one doing the hiring. But eventually, I got the job. Then one thing led to another. Then I moved to another company, and now I've been with this company for about 14 years. And like all the other things, like getting my license, it was just like one thing to like one thing led to another. Although it wasn't like I didn't plan it, but you know I prepared for it in a way. Like for example, bringing an international driver's license. I was like, well, I'm just gonna bring it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna drive because I never planned to buy a
Yeah.
car. But thank
Yeah.
God I did because when I got that job after
You
six
needed
months of,
to.
yeah, I was like, I needed a car and I got that license so I could drive. So it just fell into place. And even like, okay,
Yeah.
with this house, this is like the biggest one because this neighborhood that I managed to land into is a really nice neighborhood. This is where like when I talked to teachers back then, they would be like, "Oh, do you know that place?" I'm like, "No, I know like the big houses, the rich people and stuff like that." I'm like, "Really?" Because I was like teaching at other areas back then. Then I finally got a chance to be assigned here, and when I first got here, it was like, "Holy crap, this place!" I mean, especially the ones by the entrance that like coming up, you're like, "Wow, you're
Yeah.
like in." Like it's a really nice place. I'm like every time I come home, I'm like wow, I can't believe I'm living here. But it's more of
Yeah.
like wow. And then there was a sports day, and my wife came. I brought her to the sports day. This was like 10 years ago. And when she first came here, she was just like, "Oh, I want to live here. This is a really nice place." I'm like, "What? No. I mean, you do. Well, what makes you think you can end up here and whatnot?" But then, like, I found then me and my wife were just like laughing about it. We're just like, we really are lucky people. I mean, who would ever thought? Because when this came up
Yeah.
with like when somebody told me like, "Oh, there's a house there," it was like, "What?" And because I know the place, I was like, "Let's look at that house." I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a new house, but I was like, "Let's just look at it has a big like big lot area." And it's like 5 rooms, and it was like, all right. Outside, it wasn't like because all my neighbors here have newer houses. They're like really nice. If you look at them, you'd be like, "Holy crap! I'm the poorest among the poor." But it's like
But
no,
still, it's a
I'm
neighborhood.
in there. Yeah, I know. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Every time
It's
I
the
talk to
neighborhood.
somebody, It's like, dude, that's a nice neighborhood. Like, yeah, 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 but like my house, like
Because the
I need the
house you
house.
can
Yeah,
always rebuild. You can always
I
put up
know.
a different house. You know what I'm saying? The main thing is you have a property there. That counts, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, would
right,
you rather
right. So
would you rather have a mansion in in the ghettos? You know what I'm saying? It's like no, you wouldn't
that's
want
what
a
I've been
mansion in the
telling my
ghettos.
wife, right?
It's
So
for the
that's what I've been
project.
telling her. Like, so we think the same. So I was like, yeah, basically, I was just like, oh, I was just lucky because I was just like asking because I never really wanted to buy a house here because I was like, I really want to go home. You know that, right? But when
So,
Snow was growing
of
up,
course.
and I saw her like, oh man, not having a community, not having like if she goes to school or like still in an apartment, I'm like, holy crap. So I asked her like Snow, because we wandered into like some neighborhood, like like where I used to live. There were like houses there. It was a big neighborhood, but there were like probably 10, 11 houses there. But they were houses, right? So I was like, I saw kids there playing with each other. So I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, maybe my daughter needs something like this. So I asked her like, Snow, do you want to have a house? And she said, yeah. She was like 3. I was like, all right, we'll get a house. And I told my wife, we should get a house. Let's try. Let's dude, we I don't have a permanent residence. Like so it was really hard for me. And I was the one with the better job at that time. And
Yeah, yeah.
she wasn't teaching at that time yet. No, she just started teaching. But then for some reason we managed to like get all the documents that we needed to get this house. So I was just like, wow. It was just like I see
Meant to
it
be.
wasn't like a planned plan. It just like it was just like the flow. I was just like, all right, I got here. And who knows, I might get lucky to get a lot of money to be able to rebuild the house.
Well,
So
there
me,
you
I was
go.
like, no, I'm
So,
not gonna worry about that. Yeah.
but don't think
I
about
didn't
it.
know that.
Don't think about it. So it'll happen. See
Yeah, right.
Elaine. That's the thing. The harder you try to figure it out, I'm not saying it eludes you, but like I said, you just go for like just follow where your path takes you because I mean a lot of the like most people will actually say losing a job is a curse, but sometimes when you lose a job, you find an opportunity to start a business and then boom, that's your calling, or
Right.
Iceman, like he felt miserable when he left radio. He's like, damn, I want to be like he could be a DJ till he's 69 and 70 years old. He'd be fine. He would do the talk shows with me or whatever, whoever else he wants to do it with or whatever shows he wants to host. But when he lost it, he felt like his world was like falling apart. But dude, to be
No,
honest,
that
if
was
he
one
was
of the
still a
saddest
DJ
days of
now,
my
he
life,
wouldn't
man.
have a house in Japan.
I
You know
know,
what I'm
but still,
saying?
like
It's like, yeah, I know. But
it's still one
but
of
but
the
but but
saddest part of my life.
but
Like
see,
that particular,
but still, sacrificing that or giving that up, led to something. I mean, like
I
me,
know,
like coming
right?
from a
Right.
long term relationship, thinking that would be it, and then when we separated, I was like, oh man, like it was like a 5 year, 6 year relationship. You're thinking, wow, how are you going to recover from that? How are you going to rebuild from scratch, whatever? And then you realize that the next person you meet is going to be your partner for life. I mean, so
Right.
Elaine, the moral of the story here is don't try to figure your life
You
out.
never know.
Life, yeah, you never know. Like what I said. I already know Iceman. He's the type of guy who knows what he wants. He's not the go with the flow kind of guy. But when he went with the
Elaine,
flow, it took him to a
yeah.
place. It's not
Do,
bad.
do you know the story of the horse? The guy in the horse? I always tell this story to people. The guy in the
Go ahead.
horse, ang storya sa
Go share
kabayo,
it.
right? All right. So here's the story. Storya sa kabayo, right? All right. So may kabayo, right? So there's this guy, nakakitag kabayo, and okay, he tamed the kabayo. So yeah, ng kabayo. So uli siya sa okay, I'm
This
gonna
is
tell you the
not
story.
this is
Uli
not
siya
like
sa
kinky sex or anything, right? No.
no, 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 no. So
Okay, okay. I'm
it's
thinking
just
like I was
like
worried.
sort of yeah, like no. So so took the horse home, like all right, and everybody in the bar was like, ah, kuya, uy, swerte, uy, kuya, ginantawahan na, kanang ano gina siya ba, kanang pinagpala gina siya, gayon, nakita siya, gwapong kabayo, gwapo kayo, murag kanang, ano yun, himsog kayo, sus, ano, swertihon yun ang tawahan na, swertihonon, kanang pinagpala, yun na. Then one day, he fell from the horse. He
Oh
fell
crap.
from the horse and broke his leg or something, so he couldn't walk
Yeah.
like properly. And then everybody was just cursing him like, sus di malas yun ang tawanan na. Katong kabayo yun ang demonyo sa kinabuhi kay ano nahulog ana. So everybody was like talking ill, speaking ill of him. It's like tanawa di na siya kalakaw ana. So um everybody was just like cursing him, right? Then all of a sudden, because like times were changing. All of a sudden, there was a war. Sus nagira man na. So tanan lalaki silang baryo gipang kuha kay
The draft. You were
ano,
drafted to
yeah,
join the
drafted
war.
to
Yeah.
be soldiers. So
Yeah.
now this guy can't walk, he can't be drafted,
Except
right? So like,
exempted. Yeah.
exempted. So right, and then those all the guys from their barrio who went to war, they all died. They all
So
died. Right? I mean, so everybody was saying like, aswartiya yun aning tawhanan eh. Mo yun na pinagpala yun ni siya. So that's life. Life is like that, man. So you never know. Like one day it's like, people will talk
exactly.
highly of you, then that's just life. That's how it is. So
Exactly.
don't worry about it.
Exactly. And
Like
Elaine, if there's anything, you know, kind of be in touch with what your strengths are. Because Iceman, like I said, most people will probably say, "Why are you complaining? You're already in Japan. You're already working in a factory. Pasalamat ka, you're working in a factory." But you know what? Here's where he took control of the situation. He was like, he knew he wasn't happy in the factory. That wasn't his thing, you know. So by chance, teaching came knocking, and he pursued it. And it so happened that, and now he's been there for like how long? And that was actually the turning point. Japan was just the place, but the turning point there was the fact that he was able to get a teaching job. So you have to realize that before you get too old and it's too late. You have to immediately know if you're just running around in circles, or you're actually in a place where this is something I could do for a while. Like with Ice and I, like radio, that's something we could do for a while. That's why we're still doing this. We came back to this, it's something we could do for a while, but it's just not as financially rewarding, but it's something that we could do for a while. And that's why we stayed there for a while. And that's why we spent most of our working years there. And I think the bottom line there is the same thing with a relationship. If you're in a relationship with somebody and it seems like you're always looking over the other side of the fence, there's something wrong, right? It means you have a calling somewhere else. We're not saying quit your job. We're not saying do this, do that, but you have to know where your strength lies, Elaine. I think if you're in a good place where you're supposed to be, I think things will start falling into place, and I
right,
think good
true.
karma and good things will fall for you because
Mm.
because luck will be on your side because you're meant for that. Pero yung trabaho ka lang just to make money and just to save, and your heart's not really into it, and you're not really getting the credit you deserve, and people are not really looking at you as because I mean, with Ice and myself, when we did radio, we certainly weren't doing it for the pay. We were doing it for listeners like Gab. We were doing it for listeners like you guys, listeners like whoever was listening and who listened to us and enjoyed our stories and enjoyed
True.
our show. That was the reward for us. We felt like we belonged there, not necessarily because our employers made us feel like we belong there, because our audience made us feel like we belong there. Because if you guys weren't around and we weren't getting visitors and people weren't texting in or responding to our show or whatever, then we probably would have said to ourselves at one point or another, maybe this is not for us. And I think when you're young, that's kind of what's lacking because you don't know what your identity is yet. But as you get older, you start to know where home is. You start to know where you feel your strength lies, and and I think being an employee, I don't know, but Iceman, teaching's always been in his heart because he's a communicator, and being in a factory. Can you imagine if he did not quit that factory job and he just said to himself, I'm just gonna paugatan na lang yun ako niya. I'll just work in the factory for and he'll be there for 14 years and he's still in the factory. I mean, that's like how many years of his life that he could have spent teaching and making a difference in children's lives and saving up towards a new home. Okay, so Elaine's actually leaving his job. I knew it.
I'm actually leaving my job to work at a different place, and I
Not
don't know
because of
what
us,
will be
right?
ahead of me. Now I'm more hopeful, though, after listening to Ice's story, going with the flow. Yeah, all right.
There you go.
Elaine,
Perfect.
how bad can it be, man? Come on.
Perfect.
I mean, you never went through not having electricity.
Yeah.
I
Sakyan ng
mean, you heard the
kabayo.
story, right? Yeah.
Sakyan ng
You,
kabayo,
I,
Elaine. Kaysa ang
exactly.
kabayo mo sakay sa imo.
Exactly, right? Or yeah, I mean, if there's like, I mean, if you're the kabayo and somebody would ride on you, I mean, yeah, I mean,
Hapdo sa lubot kung
yeah,
sakyan kang kabayo.
dude, but not necessarily though. I mean, like those horsey types. Like anyway, but yeah, like before we get into
Now I'm more
yeah,
hopeful. Well, there you go.
see,
So I wonder where he's going.
yeah,
Can you
it's
give
not,
us
it's
the
kind of,
details? Like, where are you going, Elaine? What
yeah. I know he
country?
works for Davolite, so maybe it's a better company. So yeah, I mean, just don't worry about it. I mean, you have a journey to take. It's your journey, not my journey, not Rod's journey. That's your journey,
Yeah,
and you are the only
yeah,
one who knows how to go about it because it's your
that's true.
journey. You would know when you get there. You will know how to like navigate once you start the
Yeah,
journey. It's
yeah,
really true. Like even now, I look back at that time when I left. It's still one of the saddest memories of my life. Like leaving, um, Killer Bee. It was still like if I look back, I'm like, oh man, that was like that was so hurtful up until now. I mean, even my wife was like so hurt. You know,
yeah,
I mean, I said words and, like, I mean, it was sort of like I didn't really want to leave it, but I had to because, I mean, and when I got to, when I got here, I told her how much I miss the Philippines, how much I miss the people there, my family, my job. And she was just so, she was disappointed, I think, when I got, because she was just like, oh, like you're finally here with me, and the first thing you said to me at the airport was, missing the people back home, and I thought
yeah,
you'll be happy that we'll be together. But I was like, no, I didn't mean it that way, because that's why I came here, because of that, because I want to be with you,
yeah,
but I miss them. All right, so yeah, I made that decision. So
yeah.
yeah, like I said, I mean,
There,
how bad can it be for you? I mean, come on,
there's
man.
a
I mean,
sacrifice. Yeah, Elaine. I
yeah,
mean, maybe this is how you'll figure it out. But then again, Iceman hasn't figured it out yet. But for some reason, he's in a good place. I mean, look at Gab. Gab says, I got heartbroken, but it led me to establishing a business that I own. You know what? This episode should have been like, what was once a curse is now a blessing to you. You know what I'm saying? What's with the kid and an adult? I mean, look at what we're talking about. But then
well, we
again,
always we need a
yeah, I
springboard.
know.
We need a
It's
springboard to get to the interesting parts.
Yeah, actually, that's true. That's true. The topic is usually just like the spring. Sometimes we don't even get to talk about it at all. Good thing we got to talk about it on this episode. But yeah, Gab said I got heartbroken, but led me to establishing a business that I own. That's true. Gab is in a good place. I mean, he has a business. He supplies medical supplies. He has a kind of like a high, because I mean, I'm not saying like being a photographer, it's not going to get him anywhere. I mean, he was, but I mean, the events industry just
Right.
died for a couple of years. So he's in a good place and he looks healthy. Even my wife, he said, "Oh, he looks like he gained weight." Gab looks like, he looks younger, he looks happier now. And I'm like, "No,
See,
actually he's not really
bravo,
necessarily
bravo.
happier. He's not necessarily happier, but he's like he's doing
But he's in a
something
good
to
place.
better himself
Right.
so that when the right person, the right woman comes along, he's ready."
Mm,
Like,
true.
because it's hard when the right person comes along and that's when you start
Yeah.
you start figuring things out. I
And then when
mean,
the right person comes along, you have to be hard too.
yeah. That's right.
All right, okay, let's yeah, I
Let's
have a
wrap it
full
up.
day tomorrow. Yeah. Let's wrap it up. So
I had
yeah,
a
I
full
think
day
it's
today.
you had a full day today, right?
Yeah, I had a
And
full
I
day
can
today,
hear
man.
I can hear the wife banging the doors. I'm like, oh, probably because she was like asking me to wake her up, and we'll have some, like yeah, we need to talk about
All
something.
right, all right.
Anyway,
Well,
all
this
right,
was a
okay,
makeup episode. Yeah, so we'll have one on Thursday, right?
yeah, Thursday. We're
All right,
having one on Thursday.
Thursday.
All right, so
Yeah,
guys,
because I
thanks for
can't
joining
I
us.
can't do Saturday again. I have hosting again, so we have to like have another
I know.
makeup
I mean, this
episode.
is good. This is good. You're
I
you're
know.
you're getting those gigs back.
Every
That's
every
fine.
Saturday I have, yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's that's a good thing. That means it's
It is
money.
a
That
good
means
thing.
it's progress.
It is. It is. I have to earn back some of the money I spent on, some of the renovations in the house. So
Right. All right. Okay.
I
So
gotta
let's do
earn that back.
Thursday.
Being an
All right.
adult is harder kay mahal na ang gas. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and Gabby has a new car. You know that, Ice?
Yeah.
He,
I
he,
saw him like driving. So I was like, oh, Gab has a car now. I'm like, all right, that's really good. See, I mean,
yeah.
yeah, we
Between a
we
woman
get
and a car, what the heck? If you have a car, you get a woman. If you have a
mhm,
woman,
true.
you need a car. So
Yeah, car's the bait. Gotcha, bitch. I'm like, all right. According to Dave Chappelle. Anyway, all right, okay. So, all right, we'll see you guys on Thursday. Thanks a lot for joining us. Somebody has to come up with, like, dude, like, people, if you have suggestions for a topic, please, like, message us
I know
on
you want our
FB
insight
Messenger,
on
right?
it.
Yeah,
Just let
please
us
tell
know
us.
because
All
we
right.
want to talk about what other people want to hear too.
Yeah. I'm really having a hard time finding the right topic or finding the right springboard.
Or we're
Anyway,
having a hard time sticking to a topic.
exactly. All right. Okay. So,
All
people,
right.
thanks a lot for joining us. This has been the OK Show on a Tuesday. My name's Iceman,
Rod Rodriguez.
and we are out. Thank you. Good night.